prayers that everyone is staying healthy and investing into wise decisions. And today I will be talking about what it is like living with a brain injury and how it affects me and how this has really impacted my life. So number one, I'll just tell you how I got a brain injury. So as most of you all know, I did not have parents because I was molested by my biological dad, and then I was exchanged for substance by the biological mom, and then I did not find that other part out until I was about 12 because we were forced back to the biological. My aunt Dinah tried to get custody of us, but the state of Tennessee actually denied her. So we were shoved back to the biological, and it happened again at 6 years old. The police reports went out at 5 years old, and then she invited the other biological back over, and it happened again because she just constantly would invite them back over. And then there was another guy that came into the image, Sean, that was a good guy, and they stayed together for several years until they parted, and then everything went downhill from there. And I had brain injury, trauma, head trauma around that time as well, so we were physically beaten and abused as well. And so during that time, I had memory loss as a child. And then the memory loss did not stop because of the head trauma for quite some time. And development, I also had a development difficulty as well. But then I went through a children's home and academies, and already having memory loss, then moving around from place to place as a child, like going to the children's home, going to the academies, going to several places, that's when memory loss also was a problem. And there was only a few things remembered, and sometimes the things that was remembered was the things that was, the problematic things. So that was even worse. Mm-hmm. Another thing is whenever I went on the missing flyers, I was kicked out of the children's home. The academies was very good to me at first, but then they were reported to the state for abuse because they locked me in this room with no furniture, nothing else, and they gave me little meals, and so they were reported to the state for abuse because of that. But other than that, they were good. But I was not allowed to go back there, so I was about to go to another place, and before I went to the other place, I just left, and I went across the country at some point, and they found me across the entire country. So I had severe traumatization from them. I defended against my first gun at 15 years old, and I remember there was a person who would drive people around at night, and I was in the passenger seat. This person came in the back seat with a gun saying, "Give me all of your money." And I did not hesitate to grab that gun, point it upwards, and shove that person out of the car door. I went from the front seat to the back seat real quick. And I had no prior training to that. So how did I know how to do that? I don't know. I think the Spirit taught me. I was very spiritual. I think, in fact, I was always sort of psychic. And I was able to read spirits, and I was able to tell if they were good or bad spirits. I trusted a lot of the good spirits to help me, and they helped me learn how to defend myself in situations. And I also got stabbed in the knee in my sleep when I was 15 years old, and both of those events happened in Tennessee. But then when I went across the country, there were several incidents I had to defend against weapons. But when it comes to the situation of T.B.I, that's a part of my brain injury. But when they found me, nobody cared that I even existed. They almost killed me when they found me, actually, because they told me to take off my clothes. I was about 16 years old. I was about to turn 17, just like a month or two away from turning 17 at the time. And I was gone from when I was 15 to 17. Like I said, it was only 1 or 2 months before I turned 17 is when they found me. Because it was 22 months I was gone. So when they found me, they told me they were going to do a search on me, but they did it abnormal. They were saying they were going to do an abnormal search practically because they said I had to be naked in that room for 3 days. And they were not doing that to any other of the children. And I knew that they were unequalizing me and not treating me the same as the others, because actually after they pepper sprayed, so they told me to take off my clothes, and I said, I'm not going to take my clothes off in front of a male staff member. I have rights. And I remember exact words, you do not have rights here, and then tried to forcefully grab my clothes and take it off of me. And so I pushed that person away, and then several more started to come on. And keep in mind, this was a 16-year-old, almost 17-year-old child, and they all had pepper spray on them, and they all pepper sprayed me. And this was several cans of pepper spray, not just one pepper spray. This was several cans of pepper spray, and this was a very strong, there's different types of pepper spray. This was a very deadly pepper spray, especially the way that they sprayed it. They sprayed it in my eyes, they sprayed it in my nose, my mouth, and my ears, and they ran the shower water only for a few seconds. They shoved me back in the room and shut the water completely off. So I was just burning in this pepper spray, no way to get it out of my eyes. I grabbed the toilet water and splashed it in my face, and I had a seizure and almost died. So during the time I was having a seizure, I remember I could sort of see what was going on around me, and they were putting my clothes back on. And then I was rushed to the hospital, and they literally, if they would have gotten sued for that, it would have been an easy lawsuit, but they got away with it. And they transferred me to another place. It was a treatment center. But as I said, I already had a brain injury. It was concussion syndrome before then. So, ow. Another thing is, coughing hurts sometimes whenever the brain injury has a lot of pain. When you cough, it hurts. When you sneeze, it hurts. And even when you go to the bathroom, it hurts. Like, because there's a lot of things put pressure to the brain. But as far as the situation of my brain injury got even more damage. Okay, because after I was off of the missing flyers, it was, so I went across the country. Again, after they found me, I had to go back to Tennessee. Then when I went to Tennessee, then I wanted to join the military. And when I turned 18, I went back across the country. I had a lot of supernatural experiences there. I felt like, the military would know what I experienced there, and then let me experience more. I'm not sure, and I also wanted to go to Area 51 as well. But, long story on that. But as far as what happened, I was denied by the recruiter over the phone. I had an office job at the time. I quit the office job and went back across the U.S. So I wanted to get my GED and go to college. And it was the first time I went to school since like the 6th grade and some 7th grade classes. So whenever I tried to get my GED, my biological great aunt, she abandoned me. And then to 45 minutes away, she was under the influence of marijuana. And that's another reason why I think marijuana should be illegal, because it makes people do things they normally would not do. But then my chances of education was practically ruined, and then I was abandoned on Mrs. Jean's porch, and then I was thrown out, and then I was, but she apologized for that later on. And I do forgive her for that. But then afterwards, because she really did apologize for it afterwards, and she gave me care packages and things, but that was after I was hit by a car, and then months later. So then I was, when I was hit by a car, it was the first time I had a vehicle. And I mean, after I was off in the Mystic Flyers, I was place to place, and then finally getting a vehicle and building somewhat of establishment. Then I had 2 motorcycles. I had one 50cc and one 150cc. And since I did not have my license, driving the 50cc was more efficient. And I remember in Tennessee, there was one time there was no helmet. And so the officer stopped and said, I need you to wear a helmet. You're supposed to wear a helmet. And I said, I am so sorry. I will make sure to wear a helmet. So I did. I did wear a helmet, and I buckled up my helmet. And one night, I went to the store, got some groceries or so, and I was on my way back to the residence at the time. And then here this car comes up behind me, and it's a 4-lane, keep in mind. The other lane is completely empty, so they could have, drove in that lane, but no. They wanted to just drive directly behind me and just not stop their vehicle. And it was like this. And here I fly 75 feet to 100 feet, tumbling on pavement road. And my skull, now it takes a lot for a skull to get damaged, but but it put an indention and break in my skull. So on an x-ray, if you look at my skull, it looked like I'd have a hole in my skull from where the break is. But as far as the understanding of that was the major time of my brain injury. But here is the weird part about it. I actually progressed. I know you all are like, what? Yes, I had pressure in my brain more than I did before, but my memory started improving a lot better over time. And not only that, actually, right now, I have the greatest memory I've ever had in my entire life. Now, if that's not shocking to you, I do not know what it is. It was sort of a miracle after a tragedy kind of thing. But my brain injury continues to have pressure. But I actually, after I was hit by a car, I was 19 years old. So keep in mind, I was continuing to be a teenager. And I was hit by a car August 8th, 2019. I was 18. But then August 14th, I turned 19. So that was just a few days after my birthday. And there was a lot of birthdays I did not even celebrate, So, I mean, for that to happen just before my birthday. But, with the situation of the brain injury. So they showed me on the medical records papers I have 2 major hematomas, and I have, and that's what I feel whenever I feel the pressure in my brain. I feel it from my sinus gland up to my frontal to my parietal right here, and mainly in the parietal mostly, but also where this nerve is right here. Oh my goodness, that hurts. And sneezing hurts, like whenever there's pressure in my brain, sneezing hurts, coughing hurts, going to the bathroom hurts, and also getting up too fast hurts. But what does it feel like for the ones that do not know what brain injury pain is like? It's like this. Whenever you have pressure, it's like your very operation is at risk for death. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It feels like there's just a bunch of pressure in there that is pressurizing my operational, main processor. How else to explain that? And like I'm trying to explain this, like, oh yes, and the heart pumping. It's like pump, pump, pump. Like sometimes there's different types of the brain injury pain. That's another thing. Sometimes the brain injury pain is a spike. Sometimes the brain injury pain is just a pressure. Sometimes the brain injury pain is like a throbbing pump, 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 pump from the heart, and it's not the heart's fault, but it's just the blood pumping through the brain is like so much pressure because sometimes I need to drink more fluids, and if I'm dehydrated, then my blood is thick, so it hurts. But there's a lot of different brain injury pains that I have, and a lot of the times you all look at the videos, you're not seeing really behind the scenes of what I'm feeling during those times. And so I'm actually feeling the brain injury pain today. And I feel pressure here in where my indention and break is. And last night, oh my heavens, it was so bad. I could not move around too fast. It hurt to move around too fast. My sinus gland was hurting really bad. I felt a lot of pressure. Sneezing and coughing hurt really bad as well. And actually, if I sneeze or cough right now, it would hurt me because there's so much pressure right now in this area that, you know, what I do, that's why I'm just like sitting here, because it's best for me to keep level. But a lot of you all, you look at the episodes and you're like, oh, you did a 26-mile march for Veterans Day, and I know, some days I feel like Superwoman, I really do, and there's some days to where I cannot do things, but the days where I feel like I can do things, I really love those days, and those days make me feel like I can progress and get done with the things I need to do, but sometimes I need to use that strength to prepare so that my brain injury will not hurt. And sometimes I will admit that I push myself a lot. But what is the main cause of when my brain injury hurts is a good question. The main cause of my brain injury is stress. I've had a lot of stress lately. Bullying comments, number one. Number two, the neighbors' dogs that they're neglecting to feed and take care of. And I've been having to feed them for over a month. They have not fed them in over a month. So I have to talk to investigators about the dogs because it's getting very cold. It's getting into freezing temperatures, and they're not attending or taking care of their dogs. So that's 3 big dogs. I already have 2 big dog rescues. So having, the other one is missing. I do not even know where the other one is. But anyway, so that is another stress of my brain injury. And another thing is just, there was this situation, I'll talk about that in a moment. So, as far as what has taken away from me having a brain injury, what has been taken away is many opportunities. So I'll go ahead and tell you all the opportunities that have practically been taken away from me having a brain injury. Being a police officer and being in the military. Being in the military was definitely something I wanted to do since I discovered military life. It was just something that really stuck to me, and I felt like I was meant for it. And I specifically wanted to join the Marines. But as far as when I was denied by the recruiter over the phone, there was something that was spiritually said in the spiritual realm after I was denied over the phone, and they said that I would be a hindrance to the other soldiers because they would have to change their eyes around me. So if there was an emergency situation to where the soldiers had to deal with that, they could not waste their time being hindered in deception. So they were very harsh on me in the spiritual realm, bullying, and then in the physical realm, they were bullying on that behalf as well. I was majorly bullied about my eyes. So when I was going through starvation as a homeless child, I was sitting at the Steak and Shake restaurant. Usually I'd watch everybody else eat, and then, I would not eat because I didn't have money for food. So I sat down at the booth looking at the menu, and this waitress across the menu, she was chubby, she definitely ate, I'll tell you. But she had a short sleeve t-shirt on, a white t-shirt, white apron, short blonde hair, dull round eyes at first, and then she said, you know why you're not talked the same? Because you're not the same. Change your eyes, round eyes, cat eyes, blue and green. And really, I know how that works. Actually, I have a literal sketch of the brain on how that works. So I'll go ahead and say this. So here is the brain. So in the brain, this is beside of the eyeball, there is a muscle called the trochlear nerve. It's a nerve. And then the trochlear nerve flexes and muscles and signals to the oculomotor. So the oculomotor is the structure of the shape of the eye, like the practical blueprint of the shape of your eye. So then afterwards, the sympathetic nerve system makes the sympathetic decision to send the signal back to your oculomotor with a decision on whether to change your eye or not. Then that goes back to the oculomotor, then to the trochlear nerve, then your eye can change shape. It's really not difficult. As long as the oculomotor has a blueprint of what your eye would look like, then your oculomotor can do that. But as far as, and that's why I've tried to figure out how can I do that, and I just cannot, no matter how hard I try, and no matter what I do to try to, change things, I just cannot do that. Although I have tried, and I think of the wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum, and how I'm processing this wavelength, and how I can process other wavelengths visually, if I can just tune into that frequency. But that is a very difficult thing to do. But as far as my what happened with the recruiter over the phone, I knew I was different, and they did not want me. Nobody seemed to want me, and I thought, well, maybe extraterrestrials would want me since humanity was just disrespectful to me. But then, not even they seemed to want me. I just was being wanted and being accepted, I think, was a major difficulty for me. So having a brain injury took away the opportunity of being in the military, and because after I was hit by a car, then there was no way I could have joined the military, because the pressure in my brain, they would see that it's on medical records, number one. Number two, I have brain injury pain very frequently, multiple times a month usually, and I think there was only like one or 2 months this year, 2025, that I did not have brain injury pain. I really do not know how many months I did not have brain injury pain, but I think I did have brain injury pain every month besides just 2 months or so this year. But does not happen every day. Sometimes my brain injury pain is very random, or it is due to a high level of stress. But I am a naturalist, so I do not do anything unnatural, meaning that I have not seen a doctor since I was hit by a car, as far as for the brain injury pain. I have not taken antibiotics since about a month or two after I was hit by a car. I have not, I do not even I never get pain medication. In fact, when I was hit by a car, I refused a lot of the pain things that they had, because I wanted to do it naturally. And people are like, well, what about the pain? I just tolerated it. I mean, I think that natural healing is a lot better than some temporary pain medication, because you're practically, when you take a pain medication, you're not adapting to your pain. You're just trying to temporarily depend upon this supplement. And that's just not what I do. It's not the way I want to heal. I want to heal naturally, where my body adapts naturally. And I thought, well, maybe I could get the angels to grow my skull back, because they have advanced technology to where they can have bone grow back. So I've been praying for that. But as far as the understanding of the stress that has been going on lately, like, yes, and another thing is the military has heavy training. That's why brain injuries that have frequent pain cannot join, because they make you go through this thing in the training called a gas chamber. I think that's the worst. brain pressure that happens during training, because it's literally putting a very toxic gas inside of your body, and because you have to take the gas mask off and recite either the military alphabet or your numbers, and at least that's the way they used to do it. I'm not sure if they do it like that now, but as far as, I could not do it even with a medical waiver because I have such frequency brain pain. And so, anyway, so that took the opportunity away there. But I think, well, if I would have gotten accepted before I was hit by a car, number one, that would have prevented me from getting hit by a car. Number two, I would have had more purpose and reason, right? And it would have been better for me, but cannot take back the past, you know. But I think that when people want to do something, people should be supportive, you know, even if a person is different, as long as they can do the diligence, you know. But anyway, so there's some days I feel better than others. Like you all question, like, oh, what about this that you did on YouTube? And I'm like, there's certain days I feel great. And there's certain days where it's not so great. And my brain hurts a lot. And it becomes very difficult for me to do things. And when I do things, I feel like I'm putting my brain at risk, but I have to get things done. Nobody else does things for me. So a lot of you all say, well, that's what a husband is for. And well, the thing about that is, okay, so for 6+ years, when I was hit by a car, I had just turned 19 years old, and I casted all of the evil out of my life, and I committed to God. So when I committed to God, I did not seek or desire sin, and I continue not to seek or desire sin. But I stayed loyal to God and the heavens for 6+ years. And this year was the first time I ever had anyone in my life. And he practically abandoned me and moved away to Oklahoma City. He was a police officer here, and he is also active duty in the Marines, but he transitioned to being a police officer for the last few years that he has in his contract. And I wanted to honor a commitment for life, and I had written literal pages of papers for his life story. I'd written his life story. I'd written him letters. I love writing, but I had written that for him because I wanted to write his life story, and so I practically interviewed him on his life story, and I had written many pages of his life story, and I had paid hundreds of dollars or how much ever money on gifts for him. And I also paid for a campfire situation where we can put s'mores over the campfire. It would have been the first s'mores I ever had in all of my adulthood over a campfire, so it would have been my first time on that. And he was the very first person in all of my adulthood, and I'll just go ahead and tell you all who he is. His name is Alston, and he is worthy and he is honorable, but he was in a lot of traumatic pain from things that he went through. And as a motherly figure, I understand. Like, he was always respectful to me. Like, he literally told me respectfully, he said, I'm sorry. You know, he did apologize to me, and he said, I'm sorry, I have to move away because I'm not happy here, and I've tried, but the trauma that he went through is bothering him, and it really is, it is painful. It's heavy burdens for him to bear, and he told me this, and he explained everything, and then he moved away. And that hurt me so bad that he moved away. But I know that for his life, he deserves happiness. And I wanted to be a part of that happiness. And I cried. And he seen me cry. And he knew that it was painful for me. But he also cried. So we both understood each other. Like, we did not part from each other in an angry way or anything like that. We parted from each other in a very sympathetic way to where we understood each other. But a part of my brain injury pain is like feeling like I was not enough, and feeling like, what did I do? But he told me, he said, it's not you, it's the trauma that I went through. It's weighing heavy on me. And it's very difficult for some people to overcome certain things in trauma, especially if there was something major that happened, which he was deployed. It was not only his deployment, there was something else, and I don't want to say it, but there was also things he's been building up all of the years of his life, really, since he was little. And we had a similar life story. We had empathetic resignation with each other. We both did not have parents, and so family to us was, and he did what I wanted to do. And I just felt like he was a version of myself if I was a man, and I clinged on him very, very much so. And he was the first person in all of my adulthood, the very first. And I promise you, I never even seeked to have, especially a mortal person. Now, I like extraterrestrials, but that's a long story. But they are mortal humans, so I did not think I would like a mortal human. Especially since I had supernatural, unseen experiences. But he was different, He was not like everybody else. And if only those burdens did not weigh so heavy on him, And I understood, and I pray that he finds happiness. But I am not happy either, Mm-hmm. But as far as seeking life partnership, I did not seek life partnership until this year, actually. And so for 6+ years, nobody touched me. Nobody ever came near me. I did not like anybody, in that way. I mean, I see everybody as the brothers and sisters of God, the heavens. The creator of the beginning, was like the seed to the tree of life, and there was many branches of creation. And there's billions of different creatures and hundreds of thousands of different species of creatures. And I do understand there's factual things I know that extraterrestrials exist. But, I mean, out of everything that I know, some people would say, how do you believe in God out of everything you know? And I say, well, there's always a beginning. And that is the beginning of the space-time fabric. Mm-hmm. But I do not believe to replace the creator of the beginning with anything else. Like they call it Trinity, but they really pick one side over the other. I do not believe to worship sacrifice as the creator. So I only believe that the creator of the beginning is number one. And there is no person, no creature in all of existence that can take his place. And that's just what I believe. But as far as the understanding of, and so the creator of the space-time fabric in the beginning of time is what I believe. But as far as why my brain injury pain hurts is mainly because of my stress. So I have had a lot of stress lately. I had bullying comments. I had to block someone. Not only that, I had to take care of the neighbor's dogs, which they're neglecting to feed. They have not fed them in over a month, and they never attend to them, so that is a stress for me because it's about to get freezing cold, and they're not attending to their dogs. So I have to talk to an investigator about the situation, and I really do not know them, and I do not feel comfortable having to take care of their dogs. And but another thing is I never do anything unnatural. The neighbors also, they smoke marijuana, and I seen an empty container of beer. So that's another thing I do not believe in. I do not believe that you should ever consume anything unnatural. And they cussed at me. I told them, I said, I need you to feed your dogs, you know, and I told them, I said, you all have not fed them in over a month, and I have been paying more than I can afford to get dog food rather than paying what I need to get, like a chainsaw so I can cut wood for the wood stove. And they just cussed at me. They were cussing, and they said mean things about my YouTube channel. They tried to say mean things about how I do not get a lot of views and likes, and you know, I work hard on my channel, and I even create educational songs with the anatomy puzzles, and I hand these out for free. Because I want to make education popular. So my brain injury has taken away a lot of opportunities for me, but also YouTube is like the only thing I feel like I can do. And the other content creators that get millions of dollars from their content, they don't have a brain injury. They have opportunities to get actual careers. Like they have more chances in life, is what I'm saying. Like they have more opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, why is the heavens not blessing me? Knowing the circumstances. Because I know the heavens is over this entire dimension. They could make it happen if they wanted to, regardless of what is against it. I mean, they can overpower any and everything in this dimension. And that is fact. And I just think the heavens is a bit lazy. I think that they're not taking things seriously as they should, and I would like to see them actually doing things in the heavens. But as far as the understanding of the stress, so Alston leaving and then having to deal with the dogs of the neighbors, and then getting bullying comments, and having to use the wood stove and the toxins go in my sinus gland, and just everything, it puts pressure in my brain. Mm-hmm. So it definitely is very difficult to have a brain injury, but as far as like having a brain injury, how it impacts me a lot. I mean, I don't know when to expect my brain injury to hurt. So I mean, I could be feeling great, but if there's stress, I think stress is really the main cause of my brain injury. But Alston leaving was something that really hurt me a lot, because there was a talk in the spiritual realm about how they feel like I will never have a husband because he has to change his eyes around me and nobody wants to do that. But I said well, what you have to realize is that worthiness has more value than changing eyes. I mean, truthfully, there's people with eyes that change and they do bad things, right? And they are not worthy, and they're not loyal, and they're not honorable. Like when I was bullied as a homeless child going through starvation, and they changed their eyes, round eyes, cat eyes, and said I was not treated the same because I was not the same. It's like, that does not seem like a good person, right? But I understand not everybody's like that, and there is worthy people. But what I'm saying is, okay, if you just want looks in life, then you're not always going to get what you think that you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the situation of the changing eyes, I'm just going to tell you, I may not have that ability to do that right now, but I will say that I am worthy and honorable, and I am looking to honor a commitment for 60 plus years. And when I do something, I do it. I do not give up, even if it's difficult. I mean, difficulties in marriage would be like pebbles to the boulders I've dealt with, I'll tell you. But that's legit. But as far as what I'm looking for, I do want him to have military experience. I want him to be very intelligent. I want him to have sympathetic and empathetic resonation. I want him to be, like, Alston was very soft-spoken. Like, although he went through all these difficult things, he was so soft-spoken and so kind, and like even when he was leaving, he was so kind to me and so nice to me, and he told me, you know, it's not you, it's me. I have a lot of burdens, and I have to leave because I need to find happiness. And he's like, no matter what I tried to do, it just, and I think he was really scared to get close to me. Also, but I know he did care about me a lot. But as far as, I know a husband is an investment, okay? So of course, like, I spent a lot of money getting gifts for his birthday. But, yes, I think whenever I have a husband, I have to spend like thousands of dollars a year to make sure I can get gifts. And but anyway, and that's, there was one time in the spiritual realm I was talking about that, and the spiritual realm was like, you know, it's the man that's supposed to say that, like the wife is the investment. But I think they're supposed to be even on both sides, you know. Both sides are supposed to give the efforts. But as far as brothers and sisters of God, like I said, Alston is the first person in all of my adulthood for me to ever even look at a person in that way. But I did not sin him. I did not seek or desire sin with him. I seeked and desired a life commitment with him. But there was a point I got scared that he would leave, and I did not do that out of sinful obligation. That was out of me being scared, and I wanted him to stay in my life, and I wanted to honor a commitment with him. And that was just not enough, because those burdens weighed too heavy on him, and his mind just could not get those traumatizing things off of his mind. And no matter how much I tried, it was just too hard for him. But I do pray that the burdens will be lifted from his life. And as far as, and that was this year, but you have to understand, he was the very first person in 6+ years of all of my adulthood, which is like so big, but it does hurt me because I think of the life that we could have had together. And but as far as the stress of everything goes, my brain injury hurts for multiple reasons. But I think it just builds up physically over the course of time and situations. But as far as, I do not think I ever will get close to someone the way that I will Alston. I'm just going to say, I think that I do not think I ever will feel what I felt for Alston to anybody else. I never felt that way in all of my entire life, what I felt for Alston. So I know that, besides an unseen angel, but that is different. Unseen love is not the same as seen love, because we can build a life together in the physical realm, and the husband can help to have a better life as well. Like, I have already built an establishment in my own house. I have my own house, I have my own land. Of course, with a man, I expect them to have their own things established. So I do expect that, you know, when I do marry, we'll have this as a vacation property. This is an off-the-grid property, so this is not what I want to live in forever. I plan to make this into a farmer's market. It did not go to plan, and so now I'm ready to move forward to the next chapter, which would be marriage. And then I move in with my husband after. It has to be after marriage, not before marriage. And I do not want to do inappropriate things until after marriage. So I want to wait until after marriage. But as far as the understanding of But I do not make the same mistake twice. That's for sure. But as far as the situation of my brain injury pain, my brain injury is hurting right now. I can feel like inside of my brain, like here, on the inside, it's like sort of like here, and then when I sneeze or when I cough or anything, that puts pressure to my brain. But like I said, I do not take pain medications. I do not do anything unnatural. I always stick to the power of nature and natural healing. I do not believe in smoking or drinking or anything like that. I stick to natural things like tea. I want some tea right now. If I could, I'm going to the store tomorrow. I pray that I can. And so you all think, well, how do you work a job with a brain injury? You know, and well, that's the thing. I have a disability SSI because of my brain injury. I know it seems like I could do a lot of things normally, which some days I feel like I can, but there's some days my brain injury hurts to where I have to stop what I'm doing. I cannot do a lot of the normal things, and I have to attend to myself more, which I cannot necessarily do right now. But as far as what it is like having a brain injury, so going over everything, number one, having a brain injury is very painful. Just doing simple things sometimes it puts pressure to the brain, sneezing, coughing, going to the bathroom, like moving up, down. But I have better memory than I ever have before. That's another thing. So I improved in one way while my brain had pressure. So I think the angels protected me more after I was hit by a car. So I'm thankful for the improvement that was made as well. And I want to have a memory, a boost of memory even more. So I think there is more improvement. Actually, I can feel that I am improving memory-wise every day. But another thing is, but my pressure in my brain continues to happen every now and then, and I have to stop whatever I'm doing. But sometimes I do not stop, and I push my brain injury regardless, and I just sort of shut down, which is not good to do, but I do it anyway, and sometimes it strengthens me, and sometimes it does not. So it just depends. Another thing is stress is the main cause of my brain injury pain. That goes for physical stress and other kinds of stress, like getting bullied. I have gotten bullied a lot lately. I've had to block people from my channel. Another thing is it takes away opportunities. Like I am not able to do things with heavy training, like in the military or being a police officer. So that took away those opportunities for me. And that is very painful because I knew that's what I would have done. And it is painful for me. Another thing is, with a brain injury, you just do not know when it's going to happen. So you're just sort of guessing of when it is going to happen. But I would say I try to stay strong, you know, no matter what. And I try to accomplish things regardless if my brain injury hurts or not. And, but really, I feel like it does get somewhat dangerous, but I also think that the angels in the heavens protects me and heals me and helps me in times that I need. So I have a very good bond with God, and I think that that bonding with the heavens can help to heal me. Definitely being faithful is something that is important, and as you can see, my shirt says, I will walk by faith. It's like a super fidelis term. But as far as, you know, the next chapter of my life, I do want marriage to be my next chapter. but I'm very picky of what I accept, and I do not think I'm ever going to feel what I felt towards anybody else that I did for Alston Miller. But I pray that his burdens will be lifted and that he becomes healed. But as far as the understanding with what I want, I want the worthiest, the most honorable. I want a hero of the nation, which is a person who has served this country and helped that flag stand. But I also want someone who can empathize with me, who's very humbling, and who can listen to me, and I can listen to him, and we can listen to each other. And also, I want him to love my songs and when I sing, and there's a lot of things I've never done before. Like, I've never went foursquare dancing. I've never went to a country club. I don't want to go to one. But I've never done a lot of things. I've never jogged with someone. I've never went marching with a person. I've always marched alone, but I've never had s'mores over a campfire in all of my adulthood with anyone. I never have done a lot of things, so I know that my husband will be the first person that I will do a lot of things with, and that's what I've been waiting for. I've been saving those experiences so that my future husband will be the very first that I will do things with. And so I pray to find my hero, and but like I said, I'm very picky of what I accept, and I think that would be my main motivation after that point. And I will not be living off the grid anymore after marriage, but I will keep this property for when we go on vacations. But as far as that being the next chapter of my life, I'm not sure when that will happen. But physically, I do need someone. And many years, I did not admit that. But the stress of my brain injury does worry me sometimes. But if I had someone to physically be there and care for me, I know that I would not have that kind of stress. Like I said, I'm very picky of who I accept in my life, and I do not think that I'm ever going to feel anything towards any. Like, I look at everybody like my brothers and sisters. Like, I could not feel anything towards my brothers and sisters of God. It's just like, you all are like family. It'd be weird. And I just do not look at anybody, like I would have life partnership. Because those are my brothers and sisters of God. So as far as having someone as a life commitment would definitely be something I would be very strict on what I accept. But as far as my brain injury, I pray that my brain injury can heal and get better, and I pray for anybody that has a brain injury that understands these kinds of things, that you will heal and recover. And I pray also that the doors of opportunities will be open. I pray that I can get this YouTube channel as my career. But living with a brain injury is definitely unpredictable sometimes. And I just pray that I can be prolonged to live a long life and preserved. But with all of the stress, I'm not sure, but I do pray for you all, and I pray that you all have strength and determination, and also that you have learned from my perspective and about my life a bit. But I will say that this point in my life is like the greatest establishment I ever have had. and I continue to build, and slowly over time, you know, below average income is very difficult to manage sometimes, especially when I need bigger things. Hence why I do not have insulation, but I continue to seek to build more. If I can get paid on my YouTube channel, that would really help me a lot. But I do pray for you all, and I pray that learning my perspective has helped you to gain insight of a person's life, and remember that we are not to live in selfish vain, but yet to humbly honor one another. And a part of that is learning about other people's perspective and supporting one another. So I do pray for you all, and I pray this helped you all to understand.